here
Go ahead.
with Grammy-winning Ernie fucking Cunnigan from Body Count.
I started calling me Ernie C because my last name is Cunningham. You got it right
Yeah,
because everyone Cunningham. Everyone
yeah.
they start adding letters and they look at it Cunningham. I always say there's no H. You don't see an H.
Well, it's funny because my last name is Robbins, and they're always like, Robinson. I'm like, where the fuck is the Robinson come from? Like,
Start adding letters in. So I just became since high school. I just been Ernie C.
hell yeah. Well, so, when you guys started Body Count, did you ever think that you guys would like, I'm assuming you knew you were going to break barriers because you guys have since 92, but holy
you know,
fuck.
not at all. We started the band. I always say we started the band so we could quit asking ICE to borrow money. So we needed. So, but we reached a point. I played on all his rap records, and I played on. We're in Electric Boogaloo. We're in rap movies together. Him and I,
Yeah.
way back in the early '80s. So we reached a point where we couldn't, put any more music, any more instruments on a rap record for him to be true to his art. So we started the band. First, the band was, as he says at the beginning of Raining Blood, it's the band just so I could play guitar. So that was the start of the band. And we never thought we'd be around in 30 years. We thought we were going to be like the Ramones, just do a record every week and that'd be
Oh
it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just every week come out with a new record. So for us, for me to be here talking to you 30 years ago, we had no concept this was going to happen. No concept at all.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like I remember when that when your debut came out, the big everyone was like, "Oh my God, it says Cop Killer," and all that shit. And we were, I was just a kid from Detroit, so to hear
It,
this,
you know, I just did an interview with someone. Let me back this up about Detroit. I grew up in Detroit. My early childhood was in Detroit. I was the first group of people to be bused from the inner city out to 7 Mile Road to go to a school called Pulaski. And I've gone to Babalo. I don't know if you even know what
I
Babalo is.
yeah, I
I,
remember Boblo Island. That's
I
where
went.
Metallica held their Orion Fest a few years ago on Boblo Island.
Yeah, I went to Babalo. They used to have a boat. Do they still have that boat that goes back and forth to it?
I don't think they do. They shut down Boblo Island probably I would say late 90s.
Yeah, it's been going a while. I used to go to the Cobo Arena and watch wrestling there. So,
Yeah.
but I was saying that my early guitaring was I lived down the street from a guy named Dennis Coffey. Dennis Coffey had a song called Scorpio. It was Dennis Coffey and the Detroit Guitar Band. And when I was a child, saw him play the guitar. And when I came to Los Angeles, I said, being the only child, I was looking for something to do besides being a gang.
Yeah.
So I went and got a guitar. But I remember Dennis Coffey being my earliest influence on the guitar
That's
from
holy
Detroit.
shit. I had no idea you were from Detroit. So
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool.
from
Uh,
Detroit. I was there, I'm aging myself. I was there when the '68 Tigers won with Al Kaline. My biggest, I was a big fan of Bill Freehand, who was the catcher. And I wrote him a letter when I was like 8 years old. And he wrote me back and sent pictures and all stuff players
right.
wouldn't do now without being in a fan club and paying money. He just sent me all kinds of stuff. And Gates Brown and Willie McCullough and all those guys. I know the
Uh,
whole '68 team.
it was the same way with the 84 Tigers, with Kirk Gibson and
Yeah,
and all those fucking guys like Lance Parrish and
yeah.
Chet Lemon was my guy. I was like, holy fuck, like, oh my God.
Yes, I'm still a Detroit fan, and
Yeah.
then later on in life we got Kirk Gibson, and he has the biggest Dodger hit ever. So
Yeah. I know, holy shit. And now you guys have got Shohei.
they're having some kind of sale today. They're selling all kind of new merchandise for the shows they're getting ready to do in the show, the games they're going to have in Japan.
That's crazy. That's awesome. We were in, I guess we saw Shohei's last season in Anaheim right before he switched to the Dodgers. We took the kids on a road trip around the country and we're like,
Oh, very cool.
hey, we're gonna go to a game, and we were trying to hit a game every city we went to, but the only one that matched up was Anaheim. It's like, all right,
Oh,
cool.
man, it's a cool place. You're right by Disneyland. You're
Yeah.
there. It's not overpriced like Dodger games. It's cool.
I was so blown away because the merch line was, I mean, I was in that merch line for 45 minutes thinking I'm gonna get a jersey. I'll be 10 minutes in and
Mhm.
out. Pff, no,
No,
everyone
no.
was buying an Otani
Yeah.
something, and I'm like,
And
holy,
those are more valuable now, the Anaheim ones.
yeah. So, the latest album, Merciless, I'm gonna say this because I'm still like absolutely blown away with every, body count album, but I feel like Merciless is maybe it's because it's the newest to me, but it is such a great fucking album. And I,
It's like, it's really good. It's like our best record. And plus we have, Will Putney. He's part of the group. He's our other guitar player. He helps out, because his band's fit by our autopsy, fit
yeah,
for an autopsy, and those bands. Those are great bands. So he just brings what he does to us. And we have our own body count thing that we add into it. So it makes it that much better. But Will has helped out a lot. And plus we have great guests on this record. I mean, we have, you know, everyone on this record. We
Corpse
have David
Grinder.
Gilmour. We have
I
David
know.
Gilmour on this record. I mean,
Like,
how do you? In my wildest dreams in Detroit, I would never think that I'd be playing on a record with David Gilmour. I was like, wow. And I told Ice, I said, well, English guitar players really love me. I took the because I produced the Sabbath records. I said they
yeah.
love English guitar players.
Well, something I didn't know, speaking of your production, I didn't know that you did like those early Rage and Stone Temple Pilots demos that really
You
helped
know,
them like,
No, I didn't do those records.
oh,
I met Tom. I didn't do those records. That was something that came on the internet. I put them on the shows, because I met Tom Morello when I was successful, when he was just starting that band. He said, "Come to my rehearsal. I have this band." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." I've sat in their rehearsal. I'm like, "This is badass stuff." And so I said, some bands that there's no denying. When you listen to them, it's not like, okay, you got to. No, I listen to them. I'm like, this is it. So I'm like, you guys have to open for us. So we're playing some shows, and I put them on shows, and then that's actually the same way with the Stone Temple Pilots. I met Robert, the bass player, when I first got a deal. He was selling musical equipment at a music store, and I went in there and bought stuff, and he gave me a Mighty Joe Young cassette. And I listened to it. I'm like, oh, this is good. And so I gave it to my manager, and he passed it on to someone working in the office. And they started managing them, and well, I found them a rehearsal spot. They rehearsed right next door to us for years.
shit, yeah. That's cool. Like, it's funny how the music industry is like so I'll say intertwined for lack of a better term, but when you do it, it's like it's not like politicking because you're just like meeting people and doing your
Yeah,
thing,
just
but
meeting people. You just meet people, and you have the same interests, and it just happens. We rehearsed next door to Rob Zombie for years. I used to always tell the band, "Be quiet, I don't hear what Rob is doing
yeah,
next door," because we could hear
yeah.
him through the walls.
It does like Rob Zombie and like White Zombie, like those early White Zombie, that
Yeah,
shit,
that
it
was the
was
band. We
yeah,
rehearsed next to them, with John playing the drums. We rehearsed next to White Zombie for
yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, before he switched it to just Rob, like that was
Yeah, well, years.
I
We're talking '91 when they were doing. They were doing More Human Than a Human.
yeah.
I would hear that through the walls. I'm like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, White Zombie, Rage, I think those two bands, they broke a lot of ground for a lot of people that wouldn't have otherwise known, like More
Right.
Human Than Human. When that frickin' hit the radio, I think people were like, "Holy shit, what
Yeah,
is this?"
exactly. We did Lollapalooza. We toured with Nine Inch Nails. When we first heard them, we were like, "What the hell is this?" It was badass.
Yeah. What were some of those like early tours like for you guys?
Well, it was like we did a lot. First, we did body count when we first started. We did shows in L.A. We did 12 shows in L.A. And then the next show we did was the first Lollapalooza. So we went from playing 200 people to playing 40 to playing 40,000. So we're like baptism by fire. So, and the thing about it was when we first started the band, Ice did his rap set. Body Count only played for 15 minutes. That was good because we only knew so many songs. So everybody thought we were badass because we only played for 15 intense minutes. We didn't play for an hour. We played for 15 minutes. So that made the band, when we came out with the record, people were like, we saw Body Count on it. They're badass. So we had a record. We only had like 5 songs that we knew.
Yeah.
It worked out good.
Hell
you know,
yeah.
fake it till you make it.
You hit them hard and you walk away and
Yeah.
you leave them wanting more.
We played for 15 minutes, closed with Cop Killer. There Goes Neighborhood Cop Killer and instrumental, and we were out of there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you guys had that opportunity, to do that. I feel like, Body Count were like one of those first bands to really, obviously not the first because we had Run DMC and Aerosmith doing Walk
But
This Way, but you
but
guys were,
I always tell people, that was a novelty.
yeah,
We were a real band. I always
100%.
consider, we're a real band. We're Page and Plant. We're that collaboration. Some of those bands were just contrived, like the Judgment Night soundtrack. We're on that
Yeah.
soundtrack, and that's when I first really got introduced to Slayer. Ice did a song with Slayer, but I was there with them all day long, while we were recording it. And sometimes we play. We do post mortem. Lombardo comes out and plays with us. That's always
Hell yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always a
And
good time.
he is such a badass drummer, man. Oh
No
my
doubt.
God.
No doubt. He comes out and plays with us, and we switch drummers in the middle of it, and then Dave comes out and playing. It's always a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. You guys are always great live. I mean, every time I see you, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how the
We're
fuck do they get better?
well, we always want to play. We play when we want to play. Some bands are just touring and touring and
Yeah.
touring and burnt out and just we tour, we play when we want to play. You know what I mean? So when we go out and play, we might only be playing for a month. So it's a great month. I
Yeah.
get to hang with my high school friends. It's a good time.
Yeah, that's cool. It keeps it fresh because you're not burnt out on, well, we did 300 shows this year. Fuck,
Yeah, we did three.
you know?
We did 300 shows, and now we get to go home and crash out. So no, we used to tour like that. My kids used to say, "Daddy used to come home and just sleep for a month." so, so it's good the way we do it now.
And you're sober, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah,
don't drink or anything.
yeah. I have.
Yeah,
I've done it.
I
But
think we all have.
sometimes
Yeah.
it gets to a point where it doesn't work anymore, and the I'm having more fun now and helping out the kids. There's an epidemic of fentanyl and all kind of crazy stuff going around. So in the position I'm in now, where my life is now, it's better to help than to be taken away and killing myself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What was that choice like for you to get where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna be fucking sober.
It just reached a point, where it wasn't fun anymore. Where I was tired of people saying, "What did you say?" You slurring your words and things like that. And people were talking to me about crazy stuff, crazy ideas. I'm like, I really don't need you to do this idea. I could do this on my own. But then I realized I just need to just get myself together. And it didn't. It was just realization that I just needed to stop this before, all my friends got sober, everyone, your Duff McKagans and people that I respected were getting sober, Dave Navarro's, so it was time.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it is. I
Yeah.
think uh I wish I wish there are people that I would really like to see sober because I think they would be fucking great sober. And it's like I'm like, damn it, man, why I
Yeah,
just I
it's some people do. Sly Stone, he's like 70 something. He has like 5 years sober. It took a while, but he's there
yeah,
now. So
right. Yeah, they're just had a conversation about a band I saw in December that I'm not going to mention names, but they're going through
Mhm.
some shit. And I'm like, when I saw him, I was like, man, that dude he looks really fucked up. He doesn't
Mhm.
look good, didn't sound good, and it was just stumbling everywhere. And
Yeah, yeah, it
I'm like,
happens. It
ah,
happens, you know.
man.
You know, one time I came to rehearsal drunk, and I said to me, he says, "Too bad I can't fire you." That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, oh shit, it's a fucking wake up call. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. So what was recording Merciless like for you? Because you guys, every album, obviously, you guys pay tribute to someone. Like this was Pink Floyd with Comfortably Numb.
Well, this record, you know, we sent everything to Will Putney, and he kind of puts it together. The band is out in L.A. They're in Jersey. Ice is in Jersey, and Putney's out there. So he kind of put everything together. We've been working on Comfortably Numb for a while because it was just canvas for me to play guitar on. You know, it's a blank canvas. You can play anything on that. So originally, on the original Comfortably Numb that we had, I played guitar, and the other guitar player was Richie Sambora. Richie Sambora played on it because my bass player is Richie Sambora's guitar tech. So he was like, we're recording the song. Richie says, hey, I'd like to play on that. And so they recorded it with Bob Rock in the studio. Richie played the guitar part. I played the other guitar part. So then we decided there's a thing in the music business. You can just throw something out or you can ask permission. You know, being where we are right now, we said, you know, let's ask permission. We normally would just throw something out,
Hey,
but, you know, we asked permission. So we sent it over to Roger Waters, and he's like, okay, I like it. They can record it. You know, that's no problem. We have no problem with that. Then we sent it over to David Gilmour, and he's like, I love it. I love it. I love what you guys did with it. I like everything about it. But one thing, can I play on it? Like, what? What?
yeah.
So what do you say? David Gilmour wants to play on a David Gilmour song. Of course you can play on it. So he played on it, and we were in England like last year, and he was going to come play it with us. But he said to us, he says, one of these days, whenever we get it together, he wants to play it with us because he's never going to play with Pink Floyd again. So he
Right.
said he'd like to play it with us. So I'm hoping and praying that some kind of way next year at the Grammys we get to play it with David.
That would be,
I'm throwing it out in the universe.
yeah, you hear that, Grammy people? Make this
Yeah,
happen. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
God, that would be fucking awesome.
That would be great. It'd be like, you know, just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, what a and what a career you guys have had, like what 34 years now.
34 years, you know, Chris and I have been playing music together since 1982, you know, so, you know, we've done, you know, we've done those rapping movies, we've done Electric Boogaloo, we've done, you know, rapping with Mario Van Peebles. We've been doing this a while.
Yeah, everything. Man, it's so wild, right? Especially back in those days, there was like no crossover. Like if
No.
you did rap or hip hop, that is what you did. For you guys with Cop Killer, just to, really any boundaries that you could think
You know,
were
when
fucking ruined.
we first started, we had no bands to tour with. You know, Guns N' Roses took us out, DRI took us out. You know, Sepultura, we played with Sepultura and those kind of bands. You know, we didn't really have that kind of lane. Then later on, your Corns came and your Rage and your, you know, Limp Biscuits and all those bands came along later. But when we first started, we toured with either thrash bands or metal bands. I mean, we played with L.A. Guns, you know, we played a
Oh,
show
that's
with them
funny.
out here. L.A. Guns, we played with, you know, a lot of rock bands at Ricky Rackman's Cat House. We played with a lot of bands there, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, man, and Tame Down just lost his fiance.
Yeah, that's a terrible one right there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't imagine like going through that. We did Headbangers Boat last year, which was really cool. And all I could
right.
think is like, man, someone, God, I hope no one goes over edge. And because the year before they did, and now Tame lost his fiance, which is fuck.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about boats.
Uh, I was gonna
Has to
say
do
shit, let's get
it.
you all on the
No, you know, has to do it. Black people in boats don't go. we can just, there's sometimes you can make jokes about things without, getting political. But I always say
Yeah,
that, keep me away from the boat. But it
definitely.
does have a casino on. I like casinos.
It does have a casino on it, but you come
That's a
on, you grew
saving
up in
point.
Detroit. There's enough water there. You get it. Like,
Yeah, I get
I'm going to tell
it.
you, not, speaking of like not getting political, one of my favorite songs off of Merciless is "Fuck What You Heard"
Yeah.
because I that is exactly how I feel. Like all they're doing is
It's
trying to play us against each other.
it's and the thing is, me myself, my view. We don't get into my view on race because I grew up in Detroit during the '68 riot. I
Yeah.
raised by a Jewish lady in the inner city, so my view on race is like all messed up because the Jewish lady used to take me to after school at the Panthers had an after school. The Muslims have after school, and they'd be like, "Well, kill Whitey." I'd be like, "Whitey's picking me up." So my view on race is like, she used to walk me down the street. We used to go to wrestling together. She used to carry me down the street. I was a Boy Scout when they had National Guards on the street. So we had
Wow.
pictures of this. I judge a book by the cover. We don't get into color. That's the most to divide people up and get people hating each other. That's the worst thing.
Well, I know because they know if they keep us divided, they can keep doing whatever bullshit they're doing. And it's like, dude, come on.
Keep keep your eye on the this and that. You have not done nothing to me.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. It used to be religion. You couldn't talk about religion. Now politics is more polarizing than religion.
Yeah.
It's 100 times worse. You can talk about religion now. You can't talk
Yeah.
about politics.
No, you really can't. Like, and every time someone's like, oh man, the Dems did this or Republicans did that, I'm just like, you do realize that they don't give a fuck about you. They just
No,
want you
no.
fighting. That's it.
And the thing about it is, I've been a bunch of religions. I always say I've been Baptist, I've been Catholic, I've been I used to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I've been a bunch of religions. And I always say, and I'm Jewish because I've been in the music business for over 30 years. So my view on religion is all over the place. I've never changed political parties. I mean, I don't.
Right.
I've looked into each one, and they both don't get me what I want,
Right.
what I really want. They both. I'm still at odds with them. But if you got to pick the lesser of two evils, I picked one.
That's about all you can do. I
Yeah.
remember, of course, growing up in Detroit, it was the UAW.
Yeah.
They
Hmm.
ran everything, and that my
Hmm.
dad,
Oh yeah.
gosh, he was an auto worker, and in
Yeah.
'92 they
My.
signed the NAFTA agreement. In '93 they started shutting everything down, and it's like,
Hmm.
hold
Yeah.
on,
My dad was in that also back in the '60s. He worked for Hewitt Metals, which made that poured the aluminum bodies for Chrysler. He worked for Chrysler, for years. So, and after we got out of there before everything started going haywire, because we left there in the early '70s when then the auto industry started changing. Everything started
yeah,
changing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that such a crazy time, like
yeah.
to see like how much one person or one bill can change an entire, economic landscape of a city.
Yeah, and the population when I lived there was like 1.5 million people. Now the population has gone down, and everything just devastated it. Just
Yeah, almost
devastated.
everyone moved out of Detroit, so
Yeah,
of course it's all suburbs now, and man, what a long time. I don't miss that.
but this summer I'm wearing this summer we're playing some shows on the Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah,
We're gonna
that'll be
play that.
fucking fun.
Yeah, it's like, we only played one Warped Tour. We weren't a Warped Tour band, It was more like young punkers, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But Kevin's been our friend. When we did Lollapalooza, Kevin Lyman, if you know who he is, who
Yep.
does it, he was the stage manager for Lollapalooza.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Kevin moved my equipment and set it up. And now he's the big boss man. Yeah, actually, he's a professor over at USC, but he was like the stage manager. He worked for Golden Voice.
So I remember we dealt with him a little bit with Warp Tour, of
Uh-huh.
course, early
Right,
thousands when that
right.
that was big.
I,
Was
I got this funny Warped Tour story I tell. So it was like maybe 10 years ago. I was going to surprise Kevin and fly there from LA. So I got a flight and I flew there and I go to the Warp Tour. The average age of the Warp Tour is like 17 or something like
yeah.
that. So this guy, I'm walking, I'm going to go in. I said, I'm going, he says, where you going? I said, I'm going to bus number one. He says, do you have a pass? I said, I'm a 50-year-old black man at the Warp Tour. Do I need a pass? He says, no, you don't. You can go.
Oh, I bet he was just like, fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
I said, what am I doing here?
oh
Look
God,
around, look around.
that's so fucking funny.
Yeah, I
That's
always
so
thought that was so funny when I explained that to him. He's like, "No, you don't. Go ahead."
it's so great. It's cool that they're bringing it back, obviously in a very different, very different world now. I think the touring festivals, Lollapalooza, Warped Tour,
Right.
all of that was really cool. But man, I can't imagine from an economic standpoint of keeping that city
Yeah,
moving, you
yeah. So
know?
I think he's doing 5 shows or something like that. We're playing out here in Long Beach. I haven't seen the bill yet, so I'm curious to see who's going to be on it. If it's going to be those bands, that were on that, you know, show. Your Katy Perry's and things like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good mix, like there as current times, obviously you guys, more on that much heavier side than what a lot of those bands were. I
Yeah.
think you'll see some pop punk and some emo and there'll
Okay.
be a pretty good mix of music on there.
The only Warp Tour that Body Count played, we were playing in San Francisco that night. And so that day we ended up where Kevin was, right? Where the Warp Tour was going to play at Pier 39 up in San Francisco. So I called up Kevin. I says, Kevin, we're getting ready to bum rush your tour. So we just brought the bus there. We're playing that night. We brought the bus there and just popped into his show.
Oh
And
yeah.
we just bum rushed his show. He moved some bands around. We had a stage, we played. And then Jello Biafra was there. He introduced us, and body count. Like, what
Yeah.
the heck? Back
Yes.
in 1919, Fort Jello, are we going to get to introducing us? Come
Right.
on, man. We only got
He's
20
a
minutes.
he's a character, dude. I know he takes 10 minutes up for the introduction. You're like, we got two songs. Go.
Right, right, right. We're up to 1982. Let's say
Yeah.
get up to 1990 at least.
Yeah.
That's our
That's
friend.
great.
We love him.
So how is like playing louder than life? You guys have done it a couple of times at least. How
It's all. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say like how's that been for you guys?
Oh, we played that one. This year we're playing Welcome to Rockville down in Florida. We're gonna
Yep.
play that one. Festivals are just festivals are good because you just show up and play. You don't have to worry about ticket sales and promoters and all that kind of stuff. They have a buffet. You get something to eat. It's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
it's good. You get to see other bands. Because I don't really go out a whole lot and see bands. So you get to see bands, that's why I was like, who's playing?
That's
I,
funny.
I know we're playing, but who else is playing?
Right. Yeah, last year, you were talking about Will Putney. Better Lovers played right before you guys at Louder Than Life last year, and they absolutely
Oh,
crushed. What a
Will.
great they
Will
had.
is great. We love Will is like our extra member of the band. We love Will.
Yeah. Got it. I was like, so we were side stage for the Better Lovers set, and then of course, hey, Body Count's playing. You guys got to get the fuck out of here. And I'm like,
Right.
ah, damn,
Right.
shit. But we're like 10 feet from ice, and he's just over there sitting. Someone was like, hey, we should go talk to him. I'm like, nope, let him fucking be in his corner and do his thing.
Right,
Don't
right.
fucking him. Like,
No, he don't
like,
care. He don't care.
yeah, that's funny. It was cool. It was really, really cool to see you guys at Louder Than Life. I know a couple years ago when you guys played, that was I think the Meshuggah year, and that
Right,
was just so fucking powerful. Oh my
right.
God.
That one, last one was good. The last one was good because we played more at night, and it was cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you guys played on I guess the right stage and then Mastodon played right after you.
Yeah, Mastodon, Mastodon, who beat us for the Grammy.
And those dudes, man, tremendous musicians. They fucking, another band that is really like broken.
They're a good band. They're a good band. I'm
Yeah,
happy for them.
hell yeah. Man, I gotta so I live in Louisville now. I want to get you guys to come play a fucking play a show in Louisville, just like a little one-off.
Yeah, that would be good. We went to the festival, the Bat Factory. I got a bat hanging right there that they made me. A body
Yeah,
count bat. It's really
hell
cool.
yeah. Did they just do the traditional like wood grain?
No, black,
Oh, right on.
the black bats. Yeah,
Yeah, that factory. Did you do the tour when you were there?
We did the whole get down. Yeah,
It's really cool how they made it, especially like seeing like all the, oh, we made, this is so and so's bat, and
right, right, right.
you
And we,
go
we,
back
we,
into,
we were around the corner. We walked there. We were right around the corner.
oh
So,
yeah, you guys were right there. That's cool.
uh-huh.
Golly, they did. You did you go to the batting cages while you were there?
No, we didn't do that. We didn't do the batting cage. Yeah.
So like after the tour, or maybe before the tour, I don't know. You can go to the batting cages and you can swing with Babe Ruth's bat and Al Kaline's bat and like
Okay, yeah.
like all
I
these.
didn't. I didn't do. Well, we'll do it again next time. We'll go. Take the extensive tour. We got a quick, show. What some guy that worked there took us around.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just like here, check it out.
Yeah.
Go, go,
Right.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
All
Right.
right. Yeah, that's cool. So if I wanted to do a show with you guys here, never mind. I'll send
Yeah.
you a
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. Yeah. Do that. Okay.
Yeah, that way it'll be easier and you don't have 10 million people bum rushing
Right.
for, oh, let's do all this
Exactly.
shit.
Call it a booking agent.
Yeah. No, don't do that. Okay, Ernie, I know you've got a
Cool.
busy day ahead of you.
Cool.
Thank you
But
so
it's
much.
been great talking to you, and I'll see you the next time we get there, and we will get there again.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm sure you will, man. Have
Let me
yourself a
check.
great day.
Let me take a picture. Hold on. Don't move.
Oh, hold on. Me too then.
Okay, I got it. I got mine.
All right, hold on.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. You have a good day.
You too.